before we go any further, I should and I would always love to introduce you to my always lovely co-hosts, Stefan. There we go. And the absolutely adorable little furball, always so cute and cuddly, Bertil. Uh, so Bertil is a Moomin ancestor, a Moomin-like creature, but with plenty of hair and a hairy tail, as you can see. And Stefan is a hedgehog who lives in a watering can. Once again, I would like to remind you to check the links in the description box below. There you can actually find all kinds of fun links, such as Patreon. I would like to have a shout out to my patron, Flems. You'll find all kinds of interesting stuff there. Go check the link. There's also a PayPal link there also for more one-time donation if you do not wish to go and pledge for a monthly donation on Patreon. However, there are plenty of fun things you can find on Patreon in the different tiers. So please go check it out. Check also the links. The other links, there are playlist links to my previous content and the current content that I produce. Culture Corner on Monday. I've got History with Haiti on Fridays, and I've got Premiere Thursday content almost every Thursday coming up. So please check the links. There's my email address, of course, and the links to my Discord servers, my channel Discord server, Heidi's Corner, and then LGBT plus safe space server, which both are absolutely amazing. My moderators, admins, other members, absolutely fantastic. Just go check it out. It's really worth your while to go there and check it out. But now, please thumbs up, thumbs down, and subscribe and tickle the notification bell so you can get notifications for my future content. Let's carry on. So, dear viewers, today is the day that Auntie Heidi talks to you about sex. Sex is a wonderful thing. Human sexuality is a very diverse thing. It affects almost everyone, every human, almost every human. There are certain groups of people it does not, but most of us come in contact with sexuality at some point. But today, I will talk to you about gender diverse sexuality, and in more specifically trans and sex, which is a complicated topic which many of you may not have heard of discussion of that particular topic, but today you will hear me talk about that. There aren't really any aspects or issues or problems that transgender people and other gender diverse people wouldn't be dealing with, and being involved in any less or any more than any other group of people, namely cis people. So, and trans people have the same needs, finding a partners, but things become very complicated. Uh, not okay, okay, not very, but might become somewhat complicated due to gender dysphoria, the possible after effects of genital surgery, and the physiological and emotional effects of hormone therapy, and the changes this hormone therapy brings along with it. Also, the psychological aspects of expressing the sexuality after medical full or partial medical transition, or um, other aspects of the real life expression of one's gender, the gender expression. And I've talked about this in at the same time that I talked about the Kinsey scale some weeks ago, on a Thursday on a premiere Thursday episode. Anyway, in the past, doctors and other clinicians have labeled the sexual orientation of gender diverse people in relation to their sex assigned at birth. Uh, and this means that basically trans women who were assigned male at birth would then, after transitioning from male to female, would still be considered straight, if or would have been considered straight if they were uh, being attracted to women after transition, and vice versa as a homosexual, if the trans woman was attracted to men. So, and it goes the other way with, goes vice versa with trans men. Uh, then at one point it grew and brewed in within the transgender community, which was also mixed in sometimes with what was called transvestites, which is at the time was somewhere closer to a transgender woman than it is to closer than it is to a transvestite, in the sense that we know it today. And within the community, the sexual orientation was and still is gender identity based, being the most common way of categorizing things, and these, of course, include but not limited to lesbian, gay, bisexual, asexual, queer, uh, pansexual, demisexual, and the sort. But as for the sexual orientation, there's been some discussion, or rather babbling, senseless babbling, at least from some conservative, both Christian, Jewish, and Muslim believers, that trans women are just gay guys trying to become, look straight. They look like a woman so they can legally be with a, it would be morally correct to be with a woman. But that is not the case. Often we've seen that the sexual attraction or the sexual orientation typically does not change. There are, of course, cases that this does happen, but anyway, in as for the distribution, uh, in on I'm gonna reference to two studies made in 2015 of or from America. First was there are from these are self-identified in a 2015 study from the US transgender people. Self-identified as queer, 21%, pansexual, 18%, gay, lesbian, or same-sex loving, which is basically a term for bisexual and gay men for the African American community, would be 16%, straight 15%, bisexual 14%, and asexual 10%. Another study found 23% reported being gay, lesbian, or same-sex loving, 25% bisexual, 4% asexual, 23% queer, another 23 straight, and 2 something else. And then a study from the America of 3,000 trans women showed at least 60% attraction to women, which it's a known fact that more being a lesbian is relatively, statistically speaking, more common in trans women than cis women, and we can see it here on as for the 60% mark for this. And this study was from the National Center for Transgender Equality and National Gay and Lesbian Task Force from January 21st, 2015, page 29. It's a PDF file. If you wish to go and check that out, I will put the link in the description box below. And the middle study that I told you about in the middle is from Jack Harrison, June 5th, 2013. It's called Wonky Wednesday: Trans People and Sexual Orientation, and this is also this is from Task Force and the National Center for National Center for Transgender Equality. So it's quite convincing. Straight trans people are a minority, and a vast majority are queer. So that the argument that transgender women are just gay men, that doesn't hold up. So there's always been the question of the sexual orientation and sexuality of trans men. It hasn't been really talked. You don't really see people talk about it. It's it's always non-binary, genderqueer, trans women, and even in the 20th, all the way through the 20th century, you can see trans men attracted to women, meaning that would make them straight in that sense. A man attracted to a woman, it's been hard for them to demonstrate their, that they are actually real and do really exist, and many such trans men have chosen to hide and keep their trans status hidden until their death. For example, so did a brilliant jazz musician, Billy Tipton. Friends and family were shocked slash surprised to find that he was anatomically female after his death, which was odd. That absolutely no one knew. Of course, there is literature indicating that not all, but plenty of literature indicating or telling us that most trans men would identify as heterosexual, but it can vary, which is obvious. You cannot just have one without the other. So without something else, one or more things. So it's not that simple. Henry Rubin wrote as follows, and I quote: "It took the substantial efforts of Lou Sullivan, a gay female-to-male activist who insisted that female-to-male transgender people could be attracted to men." That is correct. I've met many several trans men and trans masculines who are in fact trans men who are attracted to other men. So it's not that straightforward. And in a 2015 survey of 2,000 American trans men showed more variation within that group of people in sexual orientation or sexual identity among trans men. 23% identified as heterosexual slash straight. The vast majority, which in this case is 65%, identified their sexual orientation or sexual identity as queer, 24%, pansexual, 17%, bisexual, 12%, gay slash same gender loving, 12%, asexual, 7%, and 5% didn't answer. So this is quite clear. Gay trans men, of course, have unfortunately limited acceptance in their communities, within other communities. And of course, trans men, women, and other gender minorities have limited, or often have limited recognition within, even in the LGBTQ plus scene or niche, really. Before proceeding any further with this video, I would like to remind you to check all the links in the description box down below. All fascinating links to my YouTube content. There's my playlists for season 2, Monday News, season 1, The Beginnings. There's Friday Facts, History with Haiti, Culture Corner, Sunday Specials, etc. And Friday Facts, and more. And of course, the links to my PayPal and Patreon. In Patreon, you'll find all kinds of interesting things. Go check it out. It's there, down there. It's patreon.com/Hades Corner, or Hades Corner, which way you choose to pronounce it. Okay, please go there and thumbs up, thumbs down, and subscribe and tickle the notification bell before you proceed any further. Again, when we're talking about gender diverse and trans sex, as in or sexuality, we must not forget the feminine or trans feminine third genders. In a book from 1966 called "The Transsexual Phenomenon," by in an appendix to Harry Benjamin's book by that name, psychiatrist Richard Green goes as far to consider people assigned male at birth who have adopted a more feminine gender role. This would mean, for example, hijra of the Indian subcontinent, or India, Pakistan, and that area, transvesti of Brazil, Kathoi of Thailand, and a number of others, like Mukhanathun of the transgender individuals of Muslim faith that existed in the past. Psychiatrist Richard Green, in an appendix to a book in 1966, argues that the members of these feminine third gender women or feminines are mentally indistinguishable from the Western modern transgender woman. What they in this argument have in common are early effeminacy, adulthood femininity, and attraction to masculine men. And this is an old, outdated opinion. Not all, as we discussed earlier, the vast majority of transgender women are not straight. The vast majority is like 80-something%, that of trans women that are not straight. 10 to 15% is straight. So anyway, the hijra from India, Pakistan, and that area in the Indian subcontinent are a group of people, cultural group of people who were assigned male at birth, but have transitioned to a feminine or a female sexual and or gender role, and sometimes they go through some treatments to transition to more the feminine side of things. For example, castration. As adults, they adopt the female role, but they do not consider themselves as neither male or female, because they prefer hijra as the gender, and they often tend to express femininity in youth and are sexually oriented towards masculine men in adulthood. And the transvesti of Brazil, they are uh, they are assigned male at birth. They their feminine identity and the transition typically includes hormones or silicone butt alterations like breast implants, butt implants, dressing femininely, and social and sex roles, and but hardly ever genital surgery. And Brazil, statistically, Brazil is the most dangerous place for a trans feminine or a trans woman to live in. In um, three countries, Brazil, Mexico, and the US are the top three countries so that form form. I think it was way over half of all the murdered trans people in the world. So it's quite um, much. Uh, However, they don't usually consider themselves as transgender women. So, but they engage in sexual activities, yeah, as if they were like a woman, like a female would uh, typically be expected to act like in sexual activities. When it comes to having sex, uh, of, of course we want to it, just as well as in every other context of life, we want to name things. I have a name, Heidi. Uh, Bertil has a name, and our body parts have names. But it's not that easy giving names to the sexual body parts of a trans person, because that many typical names that are typical to the sex assigned at birth would cause immense dysphoria, gender dysphoria, and that would be just a turn off. So uh, yeah, it is not that easy. You just have to listen. If you ever end up in a situation that that you start, having sex with a trans person or a gender diverse person, non-binary, etc., just listen to them, because for many, uh, the names of the parts of their bodies that would come with the gender assigned at birth will be a turn off. Ask them what they want. Ask them how they want to be to how they want you to address, like for example, their dick or their boobs, or whatever. It can be a multitude of things. For example, using less gendered words, uh, for example, genitalia. It's that, just as I said, it might cause intense gender dysphoria, and that's a call off for most transgender people. However, not all choose to rename their dick or boobs, or what do you have it, um, and are less comfortable, and are often less, um, those that choose not to rename are often less uncomfortable with their body and or associate their body parts with gender that differs from their identity. But as I said, it's ultimately up to the trans person to decide what they want to call their different body parts. Uh, some trans women wish to call their anus their vagina because when it comes to sex, because when it comes to sex, they can use their anus in pretty much the same ways as cisgender woman could use their vagina, her or their vagina, and of course some trans girls, trans feminines, women choose to refer to other non-sexual parts of their body to that belong to a cis woman, such as vulva and the clitoris. For example, a dick, sorry for the word, but a penis would be. It's because penis and clitoris are anatomically the same, anatomically the same thing. So why not? When it comes to trans men, they might call them their vagina the front hole, the back hole, front hole. You get it. Uh, which is obviously less gendered. And many choose to, like many trans women, choose to use more feminine terminology. So trans men prefer to use more male terminology. As I said, the clitoris is anatomically the anatomical equivalent to a penis. So call the clitoris a penis because the clitoris tends to grow under the effect of the testosterone treatment. Testosterone treatment that comes along with the transitioning, the hormone treatments for transitioning. As we talk about trans and sex, we cannot avoid the topic of sex work. Of course, not with any sexuality or gender identity or such, but we in this topic we can when we talk about sex, purely sex. Um, but in this case, we cannot avoid such topic. Because culturally, in many places, especially trans women are often involved in sex work in transgender adult videos, which is this is correlates with discrimination in the employment field of life, according to the U.S. National Trans Discrimination Survey. 11% of those who responded reported to having done some sex work for income, compared to 1% of cisgender women. That's 10%. That like it's horrible. It's like 10 times more likely that a trans woman would be involved in sex work for to make a living. It's horrible. According to this very same survey, 13% of American transgender Americans are unemployed. A bit over 2% more of those who are employed in sex work. Uh, that is double to the national average in the U.S. In 2011. That is, and 26% had lost their jobs due to gender identity slash expression. You know what? What I find absolutely horrendous or curious to say the least, that in the US tries to portray themselves as, the American dream. We are the dream world. Come here to be yourself, get to make your fortune, make your the fortune of a life for you. But then they do not have the legislation in place, the anti-discrimination legislation in place to protect the trans people, the LGBTQ plus people for getting fired on the grounds of their gender identity and expression. How would you say? What would you say if systematically 20 26% of every single of all cisgender men, if you took every single cisgender man in the country and fired 26% of them just for being a man? So fuck you. The trans sex workers obviously and unfortunately have uh, very high rates of HIV uh, and other STIs. It's it's over 25% of the trans women working in the sex industry are HIV positive. Um, so it it's a horrible disease eventually, really. And of course, many studies have found that in the US, HIV is most prevalent in the entire country amongst transgender sex workers of color, especially black trans women. A problem that has been identified by academics but not by politicians. Hence, nothing is done. It's horrible. Of course, they've reached the media, the trans people. So it's interesting, and the contraception and prevention of STIs, like chlamydia, HIV, etc., can be prevented by using a condom. So, dear people, when if you fuck, if you if you fuck casual, if you have casual fucks, please use a condom. So that was it for this topic, at least for this week. Uh, Now, before I go, I would like to thank my patron Flems, and also my moderators at the LGBT plus safe space server. My moderators and admins there, as well as my channel server, Hades Corner. They are doing an amazing job. Thank you. And then please, you can check the links down in the description box below. There are links to my playlists and such, of which a bit later. But before we go, I would like to remind you that of my co-hosts, which are of course Stefan. He's a hedgehog who lives in a watering can. And of course, the always lovely, furry, cuddly Bertil. Bertil is a Moomin ancestor. And the newest addition to the family, Bertil's and Stefan's new friend, with whom Bertil came home. Bertil traveled far, far across the sea and came home with Elliot. Elliot is a teddy, brown teddy. So, new addition to the family. Lovely, lovely, cuddly little things. Thank you for watching until the end of this video. Please check the links down in the description box. There will be playlist links, season 1 to 3, history with Heidi, etc., etc. There will be links to my PayPal and Patreon. And once again, shout out to my patron, Flems. Very, very big thank you for you. Very kind of you to join my Patreon crew. I hope to see many others joining there as well. And now it's time to just tell you or show you goodbyes to my co-hosts, Stefan and, of course, Bertil. Only Moomin forefather co-host on the entire internet, but isn't he the best? Okay, I will see you on the next episode of my videos. Until then, bye bye, take care. Thank you.